Hey guys, a quick note before we get into the video. This is a different sort of video. It's co-hosted by MD Hofsty, longtime channel fan, and a guy with a very, very underappreciated channel who does some number crunching. I am one to love the part-time mathematicians, you know that, so I'm giving him a chance here. Let's see how he can do on his numbers. As presenting goes, he's a little rough around the edges. I've done my best to clean it up, tidy it up a bit. It's a lot of work, but I think it's interesting information, and I figured we should try and get it out there. So this will be on the second channel. If you like it, let me know. We can work on making it better for next quarter. If the numbers come in nice and tight, hey man, we got a new contributor here. So definitely let us know what you think in the comments. Be nice, come on, and, remember, everyone started on YouTube somewhere, and we're all a little rough around the edges sometimes. You guys have been pretty nice to some of my other guests along the way, and I appreciate that. So with that said, here we go. Let's get started. Tesla Q2 financials. Big quarter, bad quarter? Let's find out. We're trying something a little different. I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla Weekend. Well, we're joined by MD Hofsty, who has taken it upon himself to see if we can figure it out and get these numbers crunched in a way that works and is helpful. So we're going to try our hand at doing the financials for Q2. How are you, MD?
Pretty good. So just a little background. I have a bachelor's in information security, but I went to business school that required you to actually take some accounting classes. So I have some financial background, plus I did a lot of research, especially during a time when Elon was doing a stock sale. So I was doing a lot of research on how everything played out and stuff. So for some that have not seen my videos, which is pretty much everybody, I did 2 videos the end of the year last year, and then quarter 1 as well. So I have those up. You can take a look at them if you're interested. But I found myself being the only one who actually recognized the fact that Tesla was going to have to pay Elon's tax bill a little bit for the employee side of it, which nobody caught for quarter 4, which I've put a pat on my back. So these are the production numbers going back to 2019. The interesting thing is these numbers for Austin and for Berlin. We don't know what those numbers are. We have some rumblings what they might be, but we also know that Fremont produced a lot of vehicles as well. We were told that it was like one of the highest productions they ever had. But coming from what I saw from China today, being 78,906 for June, that means that there's no way they produce a lot of vehicles inside Fremont, at least not record-breaking numbers. So that does play a part into what their actual numbers are. So how do I come up with my numbers? You have to look at, okay, what have they done in the past? What are they doing currently? So one thing I realized was for the S and X, they sold the Plaid initially. They were not selling the standard or the long range versions initially, which were a cheaper version. So, and then also the X hasn't really been in full swing yet. They're still ramping up the X, which is why their production sales are going up. So that's one thing I'm seeing going forward. So that's the reason why when you see the price for I'm looking at 105,000, but because X is going up now, I'm going up to 115,000 per vehicle. So that gives you your revenue for your Model X. When it comes to the Model 3 and Y, that number, you're just basically going to take it from what they've been doing. They're averaging about 49,000 per vehicle. But that also includes your full self-driving, which, unfortunately for Tesla, doesn't have a high take rate inside China. The take rate in China is minimal at best. I think they're talking, I heard like 2 or 3% take rate. So that's a huge amount of their sales. So you can't really add that in off their cost of vehicles. You can kind of adjust it, but it doesn't really work that well. But if you go somewhat, you kind of get the number there, which is roughly about 12 billion, and then you add it in with your 14, that gives you that. Solar energy is a different beast. We do know that they finally got solar up and operational this quarter, unlike last quarter where they were having to decide where they can put the chips at, because they didn't have enough chips available. So they're looking at about 95 megawatts of solar. Roughly, I'm guessing on that, it's going to be their highest amount. Energy is a sunk cost for them. They're not making money on it. It's just there's no money in it for them. They're using it basically as a way to buy a service. So you pay roughly, I think it's like a 2 or 3% fee every year on your solar or on your battery production, on your batteries for your mega packs. So that's where they're getting their money out of, which is great for Tesla in the long run, because that's something you can just continue having that revenue coming in every quarter. That you can know, like you can get this money coming in. So that's a great benefit for them, but it also means that you're basically selling your batteries for cheaper than what they need to be. Now, the good thing is that they did raise their prices recently, but unfortunately, raising prices now means in 2024 you'll start seeing those prices come and begin, because they have a backlog all the way up to 2024. So that gives you your start of your financial stuff. So that's where you get your car revenue, your carbon credits, auto revenue. So your total auto revenue, which includes that, your energy. All those numbers are pretty simple to calculate. Anybody really can do that. The interesting thing is when you get into the cost, but you have to figure out how you're going to do it. The major thing I've been bouncing that number around, which is your auto percentage, your gross profit. I've been bouncing it around between 75 and 70%. With the China numbers, I'm going 69.75. I think they actually hit their numbers. That'll be good for Elon, because he has to get 4 quarters in a row, which gives you your gross profit. So you add up all your costs, that gives you gross profit, which is about 4.1 billion. R&D is basically just going by trend.
Real quick, I wanted to stop you on gross profit, because so what has the gross profit been in past quarters? Do you recall?
Let me pull up my other spreadsheet real quick.
Because think about that for a minute. 4 billion in gross profit is a gigafactory.
Well, last quarter it was 5.4. Quarter 4 was 4.8, and then quarter
That's
3
so
was
much profit. It's so much profit. It's so beautiful. Because to think, for the longest time, you remember the haters were saying, well, they're only profitable on paper because of the carbon credits, and those days are gone.
Their total carbon credits so far, they got about $6 billion in carbon credits since the beginning of the company.
Right.
Since 2008. The big one was SG&A. I did the base number. I did that going back, including quarter 4, which was Elon's compensation package. I took that amount out, the 300 million out, just so I can kind of get a rough ballpark estimate what's been going. It's been bouncing around a little bit. I basically said about a 2% increase. I think that'd be fair. But what's interesting is Bitcoin impairment. That's part of the SG&A. And this is a hard one to calculate initially, just trying to figure out, okay, what was the prices and stuff. I still remember when they first did the purchase back in January, when they announced the purchase. I actually went back and looked at the volume history of Bitcoin, and there was a huge volume spike like in the middle of January when they did it. And the price at the time was going about 32,000. So that's the price I went with, the purchase price, and divide it by, or you take that number, put it into the amount of Bitcoins they have on hand right now, or the value, that gives you your amount of coins. Now, with impairment, you have to take the low price that you had for the quarter. That gives you the value, and then you then take off your previous impairments that you have. So they had a previous impairment combined of about $100 million. They actually have right now, it's going to be about $500 million impairment. So that's your SG&A. That's the reason why it's 1.5, which is actually going to be one of the highest numbers they've ever had. Just crazy how much it's going to be. So it's going to drop down their operating income to 1.6 billion, which is basically what they can use to build stuff with, and that would put it to be the lowest number since quarter 2 of 2020. They've been running about $2 billion of gross profit since then. Interest expense, gains, and other income, that's just their expenses for income. It's been negative in the past. Now it's going positive because they actually, they have bonds that they purchased and they're getting interest on that. So there's stuff that they're actually getting money on now. So for their free cash flow. So that just adds on to their income before taxes, provision for income taxes. That's just looking at their current tax rates. Just something in case people are curious. It's been bouncing around 10%. I'm going roughly, I think, like 9%. I think that's what I end up putting on, some in that vicinity. So that's the reason why you got the provisions there. And that gives you net income. The depreciation, amortization, and impairment cost, that's stuff that you should add into EBITDA. So that also will increase because you're going to have, which actually I think this is going to be one of the highest ones ever, if not like double what it's been in the past, just because there's so much impairment that they put in. It was about 500 million. Because you have the impairment for the Bitcoin, you have depreciation for the factories that you just opened up. So that's going to increase your depreciation. Stock-based compensation, I think about 423 is about accurate. You got employees who can purchase stock now with it being depressed. So you're probably talking quite a bit of stock that's going to be available for the employees to purchase now, because when it's not $1,000 a share, it's a lot easier to purchase. And then you get your EBITDA, and then net income attributed to the shareholders is also another figure. So it's quite a bit of different things that you add and you subtract to get your EBITDA. And then your net income attributed to common shareholders, 1.9 billion. That's what some people look at. Some people look at EBITDA. EBITDA, I think, is a little better because it takes out the depreciation and impairment. And that gives you a number of shares. 1.36 is what they've been averaging in that range. It's been up to 1.1, but it's gone down. That gives you your earnings per share. Simple numbers.
All right. So let's talk confidence. Earnings per share, 343 EBITDA. So let's talk confidence. How you feeling?
Given quarter one, I got kind of blown out with some of the different things that they did. They had their auto revenue spike up, which I was not expecting. But this time I think I got a pretty good solid feel on it. And obviously the SG&A number I'm pretty happy with now because I understand how that's going to work out. The other thing too is with the new numbers for or the ability to get enhanced auto driving features, the enhanced autopilot.
Right.
Then I can't remember what do they call it again? They just restarted selling again.
Enhanced autopilot.
Yeah, with them now doing that, that goes into the auto revenue, which the cost of goods sold on that is going to be minimal because you're basically like taking pennies off from these employees that you're paying them for. So it's basically like free cash. There's not going to be a huge amount of cost in that. The only other thing I can see going on with the SG&A number is the layoffs. That's going to impact SG&A. It's going to impact it for not just this quarter, but for next quarter as well, because they laid off people regarding the autopilot division. So it's going to be a number that's going to continue going up. I don't think you're going to see that drop too much. The base numbers, just say, not the silly Bitcoin stuff. That was just, it's just stupid how the IRS wants them to file it.
So $1.87 a share.
Yeah. Some of the other YouTubers will go by the EBITDA number, which is 343, which is not too bad. The EBITDA number, this will actually be one of, I'm trying to think here. I think that would be one of the higher EBITDA numbers. Or no, that's it was 322 for the net income EPS last quarter. This number would be roughly in line to what was quarter 3 of 21 of last year. So it's still going to be a pretty good number. I don't think people are going to complain too much, especially considering the stock price right now is so depressed.
Is Elon going to qualify for that, one of those last tranches that he's waiting on?
The last tranche that he can really get at this stage is the 30%. So if he can continue hitting, if they continue hitting that number, the only other number that he could hit is, I believe, his gross profit has to be I can't remember the exact number, but he's not going to even get close to gross profit because he has to be hitting like $8 billion or like $7 or $8 billion this quarter, and then he has to have a couple more quarters as well tacked on. So either he has to hit, I think, 30% next 3 quarters or next 2 quarters along this one, or I can't remember exactly how it works out. It just comes down to the gross profit number, and right now he's not even hitting that gross profit number.
Sure. Okay. So what I think in the comments, what we should do is ask people to share their guess. What number do we want them to guess on? Let's just pick one metric.
I would say operating income would probably be the best one because there's a lot of different numbers out there. If you look at the other numbers, like when you get down to share income, that share income number really doesn't matter because if you look at it, it's like only $150 million off. So you're not going to see a lot of difference in that regard. I think operating income would be the number to go with.
So we want to hear guesses for operating income. MD is saying 1.666 billion, yes?
Oh yeah, I didn't realize it was 1.666. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, not enough 420s and 69s in here for my taste.
Well, we got a reverse 69 with the operating income.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so what did we miss or misunderstand? If you guys like this, let us know in the comments so we can do more of these, see how the numbers stack up. I think you're one of the first people putting numbers out, so it's safe to say that you are not cribbing from Wall Street on this one, which, I don't know, Wall Street's pretty good with their financials estimates. Their deliveries estimates are still not great. They have gotten a lot better.
I beat their financials last 2 quarters, so I really won't say too much about their financial numbers.
So what we should also do is keep the door open that you may wish to revise this at least once more before the 20th.
I'm pretty satisfied. I mean, all the information that I can gather and what I read, I already put in. So I mean, I heard that they did more solar panels. I heard they did. I only saw one major factory installation, which was the PG&E factory or installation. So there's not much out there that I can really count. And then obviously the China one was just an incredible number.
Okay. Well, thanks to all the patrons who help make this channel possible. Don't forget to, like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Follow me on Twitter at 4K Podcast. There will be links in the description for MD's stuff as well, so you can follow him. And, keep him honest, man. So, what do we miss? What do we misunderstand? Stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots on the next one, maybe even before the 20th.